It was a strange, eerie night. Heavy black clouds cast shadows over the full moon, making it dark and dreary. The leaves on the trees seemed to dance in fright to the mournful howling of the wind. I had walked the road confidently many times before this, yet that night it felt strangely threatening. Repeatedly I stopped, and I thought of turning back, yet something seemed to be forcing me to continue, almost against my will. Uneasy, deep in thought, I reached the end of the road. I realized I had never gone so far, for I had never noticed the little cemetery before. Suddenly, a low, painful crying broke the silence. I listened carefully. Now, I could hear a very distinct moaning. I became anxious. Someone or something seemed to be in need of help, but the place looked deserted. I wanted to run and search for the source of that awful sound, but my feet seemed to be planted in that spot. I tried to call out, but no sound came to my lips. I felt awfully helpless, frustrated, more terribly alone than I'd ever felt in my life before or since. All at once, there was a great cracking sound. The earth seemed to tremble beneath me as the sky roared in angry clasps of thunder. Through bursts of lightning, I could see the old grave slowly open, and ghastly creatures appeared everywhere. As they emerged, the awful moaning became louder, almost deafening. I knew I should turn and run, but I was so hypnotized by the sight before me, I was unable to move. Phantoms began to parade around the cemetery as if it's some big party. The lightning now flashing occasionally added an almost gay atmosphere to the somber night. Thunder echoed all around me, and the dreadful noises from the horrible creatures chilled me to the very center of my being. The sights before me were like nothing I had ever seen before. A cat-like creature, almost human, with eyes clear and shining, hissed viciously at a hooded figure, rattling lengths of thick, rusty chains. Everywhere I looked, the scenes filled me with fear. In one corner of the graveyard, a choir of skeletons screeched an eerie tune in accompaniment to an out-of-tune organ. How it got there, I will never know. Ghosts of every conceivable color and shape floated all around the graveyard. All of a sudden, the frightening scene was disrupted by a blood-curdling scream. Some of the zombie-like creatures rushed towards me, howling and growling dreadfully. Others hurriedly moved towards the graves, scrambling to get back inside. I turned to run, but something or someone grabbed my foot. I tripped and fell. Feeling that I was surely lost to these devilish creatures who surrounded me now, I struggled to free myself. Knowing it was useless, I screamed, hoping against hope that someone would hear me and come to my aid. Creatures danced around me, laughing loudly in a defiant, victorious manner. Wanting to survive, I began to struggle, and finally I felt my foot become free. As I scrambled to get up, I felt a sharp, stinging pain on my left arm. The axe-bearing phantom, blood still dripping from his axe, seemed to have some hold on me. The pain was unbearable. When I could stand no more, I passed out. When I came to, the day was sunny and clear. All was still and calm around me. It took me a few minutes to realize where I was and what had happened. The pain in my arm brought the realization of the previous night back to me. I got up slowly. Cautiously, I looked around me. All was still. The tiny graveyard was now peaceful. Fresh flowers decorated the well-kept graves, the grass surrounding them fresh and green. There was no sign of what must have been a terrible nightmare. That was it. I had fallen, hit my head, and injured my arm. The terrifying images that had seemed so real had been a terrible nightmare. I heaved a long sigh of relief and began walking back down that peaceful country road. All at once, I thought I heard that familiar mocking laughter. It began softly, then slowly became louder and louder. I turned slowly. The laughter was definitely coming from the graveyard. No, it had not been a dream. It had been all too real. I ran and didn't stop until I was far from that dreadful place. Still I could hear the laughter, distant, growing fainter and fainter with each hurried step I took. My arm began throbbing. I looked down to see a very deep, bleeding gash. No, it had not been a nightmare. Once away from that dreadful place, I never went back. I'll never know what really happened that night, or why. Oh yes, I do know. It was Halloween.